Alana Lopez. She is currently a design manager at Inc. and she holds a NCIDQ license. So Alana, I'm going to start off with a simple question. Where were you born?
I was born in Miami.
Do you feel like your parents' professions influenced you at all in
No,
architecture?
at all.
No.
It's actually kind of funny because I'm the first, I guess the first generation of my family, since they came from Cuba, that is actually really has a professional title. Both my parents actually never received a professional degree. I think my mom has her AA from Miami-Dade College, and my dad, I don't think he has an actual university diploma either. So, they kind of just did whatever they could do at the time, whatever they were, they kind of fell into. And so I'm the first one that actually has a career in that kind of sense.
How many siblings do you have?
I have one. I have a brother. He's 9 years younger than I am.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a big difference between us.
So you were an only child for a while?
For a long time. And then Hurricane Andrew happened. And my brother happened. Apparently while I was sleeping and the doors were rattling, somehow my brother was being made.
What did you guys used to do when you were little? What did you play?
I got really into X-Men. And I used to collect X-Men cards. And the X-Men cards were made in such a way where if you got, it was like a whole set would actually put together a picture, and you had to get all 9 of them to make the set. So I remember I got one that had a set of 3, and so I pieced them together and you could start to see the image come together. Because behind where the figures were, there was a background. And then 9 of the cards that would correspond would make the background come into play, it would become an image. I never really had a lot of inclination to be super girly.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really, I didn't start wearing makeup till I was in college, and I don't know, I always used to hang out more with guys, and I always wanted to be outside or doing guy stuff,
There's a specific AP class that you took that influenced your decision to go into architecture. What was that class?
It had to have been AP Calculus, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Now is when we get into the part where you realize I am really nerdy. That was my favorite class. Who goes to school and says, oh my god, I love AP Calculus? But I was so good at it. I understand, I understand integrals and infinity and that kind of weird ass shit. But you know what, actually, what really kind of solidified my interest in architecture was the fact that my senior year, I was awarded a scholarship from RPI, Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute in New York.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a scholarship for engineering, and I always had been interested in engineering because I always liked math a lot, and I was, it comes really easily to me. And in fact, John knows that I can do good multiplication in my head, so John can attest to that. But I actually also really liked art, and I knew that whatever I did, I wanted it to have some sort of artistic inclination. I didn't just want to be crunching numbers all day, which is what I thought engineers did.
So you went to University of Miami.
Yes, I did.
Why did you decide to go there instead of going out of state?
Because my parents begged me to stay home. They even said to me, they have an apartment, and they said, what is it? You don't want to live with us? Is that the problem? And this is not the problem at all, because I love my parents and they're super cool, and I wouldn't have minded living with them, which I didn't obviously because I stayed living with them. They're like, if you really just want your independence, you could go live in the apartment and you don't have to live with us or anything. It's a typical Latin thing, the parents want the little chickadees to stay home with them forever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna just grab me, take me out of the house. Go away. Experience the world. Look at Michael saying, no. So, that's really why I stayed. In a way, I'm glad I did. I had a really nice scholarship at UM, and I graduated without any debt, which is great. Yeah, your eyes widened. That's good.
Right before at Inc., where did you work?
I worked at Perkins & Will.
And then you came in to interview at Inc., right?
Yes.
At your first interview, was there a specific reason why you thought you would not get hired?
Oh my gosh. That was the weirdest interview I've ever had. So I come in, right, I finally make it to the interview, and I sit down with Jen Silver. Of all people, Jen Silver. And the funny thing is that I didn't really, at the time, of course, I didn't really know who she was. Like, I knew she was in HR, but I didn't know if she had an architecture background or something, which was the reason why she was interviewing me. But, you know, so later on I find out, no, she doesn't have an architecture background. But she interviewed me, right? She conducted the bulk of the interview. And then John comes in for like 2 minutes. And he sits down, he barely even looks at me. He opens up my portfolio. He just kind of like looks through it as I talk. He's like, I think he asked me like 1 or 2 questions. And T-Jack pokes his head in and is like, John, we gotta go. And he's like, okay, nice to meet you. I gotta go. I'm sorry, I gotta go. So he gets up and he leaves. And I'm like, okay, I totally didn't get this job.
What are the projects that you have worked on so far?
Well, when I first started, I kind of went through the BD stuff. You know, I think I'm starting to realize that I think that's kind of like the how can I put it? It's kind of like the hazing we do at Inc. If you want to get initiated into the group, what you need to do is do BD work first. And then after you go through the BD ringer, oh look, we have a guest, special guest. After you go through the BD ringer, then you actually are able to work on a project. So I did some BD stuff with John for a while, I remember. And then the first project I worked on was with New River Village with you and Jimmy. Which the 3 of us were all pretty much like new. So needless to say, that was an interesting thing. And then from there, I did Southgate, and then Aloft, and then River Landing. And that's kind of brings us to present day. Those are a lot of projects in a year and a half. Jesus Christ.
And of all of those, and including the architecture projects you worked on at previous offices, what has been the most rewarding?
Oh my goodness. I guess I'd have to say River Landing.
Yeah.
Not because it's the newest or the latest, but just because it was kind of like the biggest obstacle. And it was such a challenge that I think it was the most rewarding in that it was, you know, the most satisfaction I felt when we were successful in the end. You know, not only because we worked so hard on it, but also because, you know, I think even some members of our own team, you know, not internally, not in adding, but like our own project team in general kind of doubted us, and then at the end we were able to pull through and kind of prove them, you know, wrong, and I think that was the most rewarding part of it.
So you would say your most challenging project was probably your most
Yeah,
challenging?
yeah, definitely.
How do you feel intuition plays a role in design?
You know, design is kind of like art, and I think some people have more of an inclination than others. But the same way that you can teach yourself to draw, I think you can also learn to kind of fine-tune your eye in design. I think that it's kind of strange, but it's kind of like a gut feeling, you know? You see an ugly building and immediately you know it's an ugly building, and then you kind of have to think about it maybe a little bit to formulate an actual sentence as to why, you know, aesthetically maybe it doesn't work, or maybe the proportions are off or the scale. But it almost kind of like, you know, it comes in through your eyes and it goes straight to your gut.
How do you handle the hours of architecture, working late in the night in your family life?
I handle that with a person named Michael. That's how I handle that. I think if Michael weren't around to kind of, you know, pick up the pieces and keep everything together, I think everything would be a mess. And, you know, I'm not just saying that because he's standing right in front of us, but it's the truth. It's the truth. I mean, he's the one who kind of keeps the house all together, and he's the one who keeps the family all together. And, you know, I tend to sometimes get so caught up in my work that I forget that there's other people around me and that I have to like interact with other people. And you know, he's kind of the one that kind of like pulls me out of my world, you know, and kind of brings me back to reality. And you know, he's the one that's there to pick me up when I fall to pieces as I walk through the door at 2 in the morning. So yeah, I think it's all about the support group. It's hard to do sometimes when you're on your own, and you know, it's nice to have a good foundation.
What would you say the biggest fear in your life is?
Oh.
God damn it, Mila! Salute Mila! What the fuck? Seriously? That was everything I thought.
Yes, Michael, to answer your question, yes, to lose you and Mila is a big deal.
Well, not me, because you know, I'm me, but Mila is yours.
Yeah, I know,
That's
but
above
it's
you.
both of you. You guys are irreplaceable. But I don't know, I don't think that's my biggest fear, and I'll tell you why. I think my biggest fear is something that is within my control, but that perhaps I don't do anything about it, you know? Like not fulfilling a dream or not attaining a goal that I have. It's almost like, I guess my biggest fear is for me to let myself down.
Okay, so now we're gonna move into the portion of the interview. We're gonna do the same thing that James Lipton does, but a modification of his 10 questions. The first question is, what is your favorite word?
Okay, my favorite word is saudade.
And what is it?
It's in Portuguese. It expresses like a longing for something. It's almost like saying like I miss this, but it expresses even more than that. It's like a longing, like a yearning almost. It's my favorite word.
What is your least favorite word?
It'd probably be like a curse word that I can't say. It's an ugly word. I don't even like to say it. Like, it makes me feel dirty when I say it. I'm not gonna say it.
Okay.
Okay.
What is your favorite color?
Blue.
Least favorite color?
Probably yellow. Puts me on edge sometimes.
What profession other than yours would you like to attempt?
That's a good question. I thought about being a professor. Yeah, I always like teaching.
A professor of?
Probably architecture.
Mhm.
I mean, keep it close to home.
What profession would you not like to do?
I'll be a doctor. Ugh, blood and guts and all that stuff. Just the smell of hospitals makes me queasy. That super sterile smell. I hate that.
What makes you happy?
The beach. Spending time with my family.
What makes you mad?
Having to work so late. It just makes me mad. It just makes me mad. Because it's the opposite of what makes me happy.
What would you do if you won the lottery?
Ooh. I would put my money to make money for me. So I would like hire this wonderful investment banking firm and just invest all my money so that I would never have to work a day in my life. Yeah, I'll buy you a book,
Wait, was that a boat or a car?
RV.
No, it's an RV.
An RV?
Yes, the American dream.
Oh, okay. Well, that leads into the 10th question.
You think that was a nice segue?
What do you dream of?
What do I
Apparently, it's taking
Michael
trips in
dreams
RVs.
about RVs. Michael dreams of RVs. Dream of living in a place where people get along more and spend more time with each other. It's funny, but the older I get, the more and more I tend to analyze relationships and just kind of see them at work around me. And I just pick up on the sadness that people hold inside of them. And like, it really gets to me, you know, it kind of, it gets to me because it saddens me that people don't, you know, they can live their whole lives and not feel that kind of happiness. I'm not saying that I could change it or that, you know, there's like a cure-all kind of thing, but I don't know, if anything I would say, you know, be honest with other people and with yourself. You know, I think that's the most important part.